Good evening, good evening, good evening. One second. I hope all is doing well. I'm Jim Collins, and I am here tonight to share a very interesting analogy. And I know the topic may sound a little off, like, what does cigars have to do with gamefowl? How can you even relate cigars and gamefowl together? Well, I'm here tonight and I'm going to explain it to you. I took a couple little bullet point notes just to make sure that I cover the topics the way that I feel as though I need to get my message across. I know it sounds very crazy for me to even be associating cigars with gamefowl, but I believe once I explain it to you this evening before the end of the show, you will have a whole different perspective of the analogy that I was using. So, like I say, tonight we're going to be talking about cigars and gamefowl. Cigars and gamefowl. I don't know if y'all guys are watching me from Instagram, but make sure y'all guys follow me. If you watch me from YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button. But tonight I'm going to tell y'all guys, explain to y'all guys a story, an analogy of what cigars and gamefowl have in common. And I think the reason why, just to give y'all guys a little bit of backstory of why I'm even using cigars and gamefowl in the same context, is because there's a lot of similarities. It's a lot of similarities to the farmers that farm tobacco, cigar tobacco, with breeders of gamefowl. That is the reason why I'm using cigars. It's something that I know about, but typically the people who smoke cigars and know about cigars are very, very passionate, just like gamefowl owners. They're very, very passionate from every aspect, from care, bloodline, raising up the crops, all of that kind of stuff. And we're going to go through all these topics, and I promise you, by the end of the video, you're going to understand by me telling, and even if you don't agree with what I'm going to be saying tonight, you'll never forget this. So I'm using a large cigar, very large, something I have actually never smoked, something as big, but it's an extreme size cigar, and I'm using an extreme size cigar because this is an extremely different topic, analogy. So we're going to be talking about the night from the beginning to the end, what I feel as though and how I feel as though that cigars and gamefowl breeders totally relate. We're going to talk about the breed, the bloodline, which is the seeds, the crop, the soil, which is the nutrition. I'm going to go through every category and explain to you in all of those categories why there is so much similarity and what a gamefowl breeder can learn from a farmer of cigar tobacco. The reason why I'm saying cigars and not cigarettes, because it's a totally different mindset. Typically, people who grows this cigar tobacco is generations after generations. They're not typically owned by very large companies. They're pretty much family owned, and it just so much reminds me of gamefowl breeders, being breeders first generation, cockers, second generation, third generation. It's the same thing like that in tobacco. Cigar tobacco, not cigarettes, but cigar tobacco. Typically, cigarette tobacco is owned by very, very big corporate companies, corporate operations, but that's not the same with cigars. So guys, let me go ahead and explain to you why you should even take the time tonight to even watch this live stream, and what you can possibly learn. What can a gamefowl breeder learn from a cigar tobacco grower? Okay, first thing is this, so we can get it started off and how it even relates. For many people who think tobacco has nothing to do with gamefowl and it doesn't relate, well, let me give you the first thing. The first thing is hereditary, genes. We understand how important that is as being a gamefowl breeder, is the bloodlines and stuff like that. Having particular bloodlines to meet the characteristics that we like. Well, it's the same thing in cigars. Let me tell you why. Today, even today, we talk about, in Ivy League schools is taught all over the world about hereditary theories, the genetics, how we got an understanding of how humans inherit genes. Well, all of that knowledge that was based on a man Gregor Mendel, which y'all guys can research him, which taught us modern society the understanding of hereditary. He taught us that, and he discovered that through breeding plants. Breeding plants. We understand human hereditary from the research that was done using plants. So that is the reason why it's something that we can learn from a tobacco grower. Because you know what? They inherit tobacco. They have the same hereditary lines, the same as a human, the same as gamefowl, actually the same as almost any living organism. Almost any living organism. They breed, create the tobacco for these cigars, just like we do with gamefowl. Let me give you a breakdown. Cigar is made of 3 parts. How does that relate to gamefowl? Well, typically when we go out and we want to start a line, we start with a trio, right? 2 hens and a cock. Cigar is made out of 3 tobaccos. A filler, which is all the ones you see here. The binder that holds a cigar in place. And the outside part that you see with your eyes are the wrapper. That's the wrapper. So a cigar is made from 3 different tobaccos. They can come from the same family, the same line, but it's still 3 tobaccos. When we breed chickens, we typically start out with a trio. What is our goal with the trio? Our goal with the trio is to be able to create the perfect combination. And what I mean by perfect, perfect to our liking. Not someone else's liking, but perfect to our liking. What is the cigar maker, grower trying to do? He's trying to combine 3 different tobaccos to create what he feels as though is the best cigar. He has to combine 3 different tobaccos, the filler, the binder, and the wrapper. The same thing that we do in gamefowl. We take a trio, we breed this one, the cock to this hen, the cock to this hen. Then we take a stag out of that breeding and breed it to a pullet out of that breeding. You see what I'm saying? The same identical concept. The same concept. Just like we go out there searching for bloodlines. Well, tobacco growers go out there searching for seeds. And seeds are the bloodlines of the tobacco. That's the bloodline. There's many different versions of tobacco, and they all result from a seed, a different seed. The same thing it is in gamefowl. There's many different bloodlines in gamefowl, but they all result from the bloodline, the genetics, right? The same identical thing that applies to a cigar. That applies to a cigar. So guys, like I say, follow me on through this, and I'm going to really break this down. And the reason why I'm using, like I say, this cigar, because me as an individual, I tend to remember stuff better when it's being told as a story. A little bit different than, people learn different. Some people can learn just from reading. Some people can learn from pictures. I can really remember a lot of things through storytelling. So I'm telling y'all guys this story. And again, if you don't agree, by the end of the video, I promise you, you'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. So I don't know if y'all guys just chimed in or not. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, but very in depth. But, again, guys, cigar made of 3 tobaccos. Gamefowl, we start off with a trio, 2 hens and a rooster. What is the tobacco grower trying to do? He's trying to combine the best 3 tobaccos so he can create what he feels as though is the perfect smoke. What is the gamefowl breeder doing? The gamefowl breeder buys a trio and he tries to mix that trio through breeding a cock to the cock to this hen, a cock to that hen, taking a stag out of this breeding and breeding to a pullet out of this. What he's trying to do is he's trying to create the perfect combination, starting with those three fowl, to create what he feels as though is the perfect rooster. The same thing that a tobacco grower for cigars are trying to do. Every tobacco has its own flavor profile, has its own DNA, has its own genetics. Same thing in gamefowl. Even if those hens are sisters, we know they do not possess the same identical chromosomes. Even if that cock is their brother, we know he does not possess the same identical chromosomes. So what are we doing? We're trying to combine those three animals through a breeding program to create what we consider the best ideal rooster. The same thing that a tobacco company grower is doing, trying to combine three tobaccos to make the perfect cigar. So let's move on. The first thing that we have, the tobacco grower has to start anything, he has to start with a seed. He has to start with a seed. The first thing a gamefowl breeder has to start with is the bloodline, which is the seed, right? Now, the tobacco grower knows in order for him to even have a chance of having a great crop or a great profile, flavor profile is he has to start out with a great seed, a healthy seed, a seed that has very strong genetics. The grower knows he has to start with a healthy seed that possesses the genetic characteristics that he wants to reproduce. Same thing in gamefowl. We start with a bloodline, but first we have to make sure that the fowl that we're starting with is healthy. And the fowl has the ability to pass the genetic characteristics that we're looking for. Okay? So that's the first thing we start with. Tobacco growers start with a seed, which is basically a bloodline. The gamefowl breeders start with a bloodline, with a rooster or a hen or whatever he wants to start with. But both of them have to look at the same identical thing. Both of them want their seed and their gamefowl, their brood stock, to be healthy and possess the characteristics that they desire. That's number one. The second thing that we have is the soil. How important do you think the soil is to somebody growing tobacco? The soil is the nutrition for the crop, for the tobacco. The soil is the nutrition for the tobacco, right? The feed that we feed our gamefowl, our brood stock, our stags, our pullets, and all that, that's the nutrition. That's the nutrition for our gamefowl, right? So we got the seed, which is the tobacco. We got the brood stock, which is the beginning of your breeding program, right? Then now we go to the next level, which is the soil. How important is the soil? The soil is almost everything, because the soil is only going to nourish what you plant in it. No different than if you have gamefowl. You can have good gamefowl or bad gamefowl. But if you give them good nutrition, it's just going to flourish what you have. It's not going to take bad gamefowl and make it good. And it's not going to take good gamefowl and make it bad. It's just going to allow you to nourish what you have genetically to its fullest potential. The same thing goes for the tobacco grower. He has to make sure his soil, which is the nutrition for the plant, and we as gamefowl breeders need to make sure that our nutrition for our gamefowl is the best that we can provide, so we can maximize the potential of that animal, that fowl, or whatever you want to call it. Okay? So that's the second thing that we have. The soil, which is the nutrition for the crop. The feed program, which is the nutrition for our stags and our pullets, our offspring. Okay? Then we go down to the crop, which we actually talk about the individual tobacco. And then on the gamefowl end, we talk about the individual stag, our offspring. So we got the crop is tobacco on one end, and equally on the gamefowl end, it's our offspring. Our offspring is our crop. Tobacco is the offspring for the growers, for the grower. That's his offspring. Okay? So, let's go back a little bit. How important is the soil? The soil is extremely important, Because the grower knows he can go out and buy the best seeds available on the planet. The best seeds available on the planet. But if he plant those seeds in trash, unnutritious soil, his crop, which is the tobacco, will never meet its fullest potential. So let's apply that to gamefowl. You can go out there and buy the best brood stock that you want. Doesn't matter. Because if you don't give him the proper nutrition, he's never going to produce or reach his fullest potential. Period. It doesn't matter where you got it from or anything like that. It does not make a difference. You can go out and get the best bloodline out there. If you do not provide that animal with the nutrition, meet his nutritional needs, he will never reach his full potential. The same thing like a tobacco grower growing cigars. He can buy the best seeds available on this earth. But if he planted in dry, trash soil, the tobacco is never going to reach its fullest potential. Right? So, that is why it's important. And what I mean by soil, if you look at the food that you consume, the higher the quality food that you consume, the better the soil it was grown out of. Period. So what can we learn from the tobacco grower that we can apply to gamefowl? Well, what I learned is it tells me how extremely important the nutritional value is for your offspring. And not only that, it shows me how the soil, the ground that these birds are living on, can have a direct impact to the outcome of their health, their growth, their reproductive. Soil, the earth, is extremely important, especially if you feed your gamefowl off the ground, which many people do, which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But just imagine the food that you was eating. You went out to the farm that they were growing the corn that you was eating. And on that farm, you looked out in that field and you seen the dirt had all this kind of trash in it. Cans, bottles, spilled oil, cups, and all that kind of stuff. Would you actually want to eat? Would you actually want your food grown in that field? The average person probably would say no. But we do have people out there who would say it don't make no difference to me, which I totally understand. But the best fruits and vegetables and even the animals that graze on healthy ground produce better meat and better milk. So that's why it's extremely important and something that we can learn from the cigar growers of how important, how vital it is to have your birds on healthy dirt. On healthy dirt. Especially if you feed them off the ground. Because every time you throw that food on the ground, it is taking some of their, consuming not only the feed, but they're also consuming the dirt. So the healthier your ground is that you're raising your fowl, the better it's going to be for him. Period. The same thing goes for the cigar maker, the tobacco grower. He knows he not only needs the best seed, which is equivalent to the bloodline, he needs to have fertile soil that can provide his crop with all the nutritional needs that it needs in order to reach his tobacco to the fullest potential and provide him with the flavor profile that he's looking for. You see what I'm saying? So let's move on. Now we got the crop. Doesn't matter what kind of seed the tobacco growers start with. It doesn't matter what kind of soil he has it in. He can have healthy soil, healthy seed, right? But he still has to go to and maintain the crop. He got to make sure ain't no bugs on the crops. You know what I mean? He got to be very conscious of the weather. All of those kind of things. He just can't say, oh, I got a healthy seed and I got some healthy dirt, you know, and I just throw the seed in the dirt and I just leave and go away and come back. No, it's a process. That stuff still has to be taken care of. Just like with our birds, you can say, oh, I just go buy a trio. As long as I buy a trio and I feed them good food, that's all I need to do. Well, you also need to worm them, delouse them. You know what I mean? If they get into, you got to maintain them. You got to pick them up, make sure their body's right. Make sure they feeling good. Same thing with the crop. They got to go through these fields and make sure they're not being infested with different types of bugs. They got to make sure with the weather that's going on outside that it's not too harsh. And if it is too harsh, they got to do something to try to combat that. No different than a strawberry farmer that lives in a state that don't hardly get any cold weather and he gets a frost. What you see them go out there and do? When they know a frost coming, they go out there and cover it. They go out there and cover it. Go to them strawberry farms and see what they do when they supposed to be getting unexpected frost. They started out with good seeds. They got it in great dirt. But you still got to maintain your crop. And with gamefowl, we still got to maintain our offspring. So our offspring, their crop is equivalent to our offspring. Okay? So the next thing that we do. So now we got a cigar farmer, tobacco grower, that started off with a good seed, which is a good bloodline, equivalent to a good bloodline with chickens. He started out with great soil, which is the nutrition that feeds the seed, which is equivalent to gamefowl, which is our nutrition that we give them: clean water, clean, well-balanced feed. Same thing that the tobacco grower is given. The tobacco grower do not the tobacco grower do not water his farm with nasty water. Tobacco growers do not water their farm with nasty water. Period. And that's an outside plant. If water didn't make a difference, why don't see tobacco growers pumping the water from the treatment center and just pouring it all out? They do that sometimes with the ground to fertilize it. But when you go out to these farms, they spraying clean water. I'm not saying it's all potable, but it is clean water. The water's not nasty. So that is something that we should be able to learn from them, understand the importance of clean water. Same thing with clean feed. The tobacco grower is starting out with clean dirt. It's dirt, but it's still clean. It ain't got a whole bunch of wrappers in it, beer cans, all that. You don't see all that trash out there in their farms. And they got thousands of acres, and it's still clean. So, now we got the seed, which is equivalent to the bloodline of a trio. Then we got the soil, which is equivalent to clean water and nutrition in gamefowl. Then we got the crop, which is the tobacco itself. And on the gamefowl end is our offspring. Now let's go to the harvest aspect. The harvesting aspect. What's equivalent to a farmer harvesting? To gamefowl. That's culling. Harvesting to a farmer is culling to a gamefowl breeder. Harvesting to a farmer is culling to a gamefowl breeder. Do you think this tobacco grower that made this cigar, do you think he was able to use every bit of the tobacco that he produced on his farm that year? I can tell you the answer. The answer is no. Because that farmer is going through his farm, picking out the tobacco that meets his standards. The rest of the tobacco, if it's not that blemish, they sell that on an open market to somebody else who might be okay with it. It might fit their program. The same thing like gamefowl. Every breeder goes out there and he has to cull. And how does he cull? He cull anything that doesn't meet his standards, and his standards is based on his goals and his breeding program. The same thing like a tobacco farmer. He goes to his farm and he finds tobacco that meets his standards that he wants to use in their cigars. we go through our farms and we look at all the fowl that meets our standards that we should be able to use either in breeding programs or otherwise. Everything other than that, we cull. Same thing. Harvesting. Harvesting in a farmer is eliminating a crop that doesn't meet his standard. Harvesting when it comes to gamefowl is culling, which is eliminating a fowl that does not meet the breeder's standard. Okay? I hope y'all guys are following along with me all the way with this. And hopefully this is making sense. It might make sense. It may not make sense. I don't know. But hopefully it is making sense. So, now what do we have? After that, then we have, so now we got the seed. We got the good bloodline. We got great nutrition, clean water, clean feed. We raised them up on good ground. We went out there and, we went out there and we got all the stags and stuff that we have. Then, we cull to depict on what we're going to keep and what we're not going to keep, right? Then we come down to now these animals, our crops, or our offspring, and I'm talking about from the egg all the way to a cock. Now it comes time, after we done harvest or culled, now it comes time to get it to the, what I would say, not the last person, but basically the last person. Okay? Now, the last person typically to touch this cigar is going to be the roller. Is going to be the roller. Who is the roller? Who is the equivalent of a roller of cigars and gamefowl? It's the feeder. It's the feeder. The feeder in gamefowl is equivalent to the roller of the cigars. Now let me break this down to y'all. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the cigar is made of 3 tobaccos. The filler, the binder, and the outside wrapper that you see with your eyes, right? So he has to take the filler, the binder, and a wrapper and roll it so he can get a nice, beautiful, well-formed, well-burning cigar. It's the roller's responsibility to construct a cigar that it should burn very well, very even. But again, that's also coming to play that he can only work with what he has. The roller can only make the best out of the tobacco that he was given. How does that equate to gamefowl? The same thing with a feeder. A feeder can only bring the best out of what he was provided. The feeder did not create the bloodline that he's working, that he's feeding. He didn't raise the bird. You know what I mean? He didn't call. He didn't do any of that. He's just a feeder. The same thing like the roller of this cigar. The roller of the cigar wasn't out in the fields. He didn't plant the seeds. He didn't nourish the dirt. He didn't water the crops. All he's doing is he's taking what the grower produced and he's constructing it to the final product when it's ready to come in the hands and perform for the end customer. That's exactly what the feeder does in gamefowl. He takes what the breeder has created from bloodlines and raised it on whatever nutrition he chose, and he's left with whatever the breeder has culled and given him. He can only make the best out of what he was provided. Period. Right? That's what I'm saying. As has broken all of this down in every fashion, why it's equivalent to gamefowl. Cigar growers are just as passionate about their tobacco as gamefowl breeders are about their birds. They got the same responsibilities for their tobacco as we have for our gamefowl. It's just that simple. So let's take it another step further. Now, this gets to the point where, again, the feeder is only working with what he has. The feeder job is to bring out the best of what the breeder created. The roller of a cigar job is to roll this cigar to bring the best out of this tobacco that the farmer created. Okay? Now, we go to the next step, which is almost kind of like the next to the final step, which is the band. The band. What is the equivalent to the band in Gamefowl? Is a wing band. The band on a cigar represents the same identical thing as a wing band. The band on a cigar is nothing but paper with the name on it. Well, a wing band ain't nothing but a little piece of aluminum with a name on it. But what does the band on a cigar and a wing band on a chicken represent? What it represents is a promise, is an identifier. When you look at these bands, you should know what type of not only flavor characteristics, but the construction, the quality, the smoke, the characteristics of this cigar based on its band. The same thing in Gamefowl. If you see a tag on Gamefowl with a particular name on it, you can look at it and say, well, you know what? I see that name on there. I know that that bird should be healthy. It should have this type of characteristics or that kind of characteristics. You see what I'm saying? The same thing. The same thing as a band on a cigar is the same as a wing band on a chicken. It identifies the standards and the goals and the characteristics of this tobacco grower. The wing band communicates the standards and the characteristics of the Gamefowl breeder. Same. I promise y'all guys don't think this analogy is as crazy as you thought it was before I did this video. Because I knew many guys was like, man, I don't even understand how he can even be relating that. Well, that's how my little mind think. Now, in the comments, guys, if you don't think what I'm saying makes any sense, let me know. So, let me take it to the last portion, and then I'll close it out. And if I need to do another video, I will. But let me tell you why you should not always base your decisions on what cigar to buy and what cigar not to buy based on somebody else's experience, right? Because this is what I learned, and the same thing in Gamefowl. The most cigars come down to what you like, what your palate like. Some people like strong cigars, some people like mild cigars, some people like light cigars, right? It just depends on what you like. Same thing in Gamefowl. The same identical thing. Some guys like, a Gamefowl that got broad backs, that got medium station, some like a tall station, whatever the case is, right? They have their likings. The same thing in cigars. People have their likings. But this is the deal in my point to what I'm saying. Just because a cigar costs $10 and the other cigar costs $35, it does not mean you're going to like the $35 cigar more than you like the $10 cigar. Let me repeat that. They got cigars out there that's $450 for one. And they also got cigars out there that's $1. So, you say to yourself, well, what's the difference? You think I'm going to go ahead and buy that $450 cigar because I know that's going to be the best. Well, you know what? You might buy that $450 cigar and you may not even like it. I smoked more expensive cigars, and you know what I found? Not the really cheap cigars, but I'm kind of like at a mid-premium, which is pretty much typical good for me. I haven't really found some really cheap cigars that I like. I'm not saying there's none out there. Now, it's a whole bunch of different things that come into the price of the cigar. Just like there's a whole bunch of different things that come into the price of the Gamefowl. Now, if I go to buy Gamefowl, the farm is nasty. The feed is not good. It's really dusty. It's not really good feed. The water bowls is dirty. But yet he want $1,800 for a trio. Now, guys might say, oh, it really don't matter because, that's... Listen to me. It goes back to the same concept of cigars. The farms that is producing some of the highest quality cigars go to their farm. They're watering their place with clean water. The dirt is well taken care of. The soil is well taken care of. And that's why they're producing some of the best tobacco in the world. It's this. Now, it does not mean that everybody's going to like their tobacco. And it does not mean if you go to a farm that's super duper clean, nice pens, nice TBs, you may not like his gamefowl. You may not like his gamefowl. You might say, hey, Harry over here around the corner from me got gamefowl that I seen do a lot better than that. That may be true. And it may be half the price. So go back to, like I said, the first thing I learned when I started smoking cigars was the fact that do not judge a cigar based on price. And do not judge a cigar based on somebody else's experience. Because it's almost like coffee. Some people love Starbucks. My parents don't like Starbucks. They think it's way too strong. What do they drink? Maxwell House. We can get a pound of it or 2 pounds of it for $5. When you go to Starbucks, you paying $5 for a cup. So again, don't base somebody else's experience on your decision. Make a decision based upon what you're looking for. But again, everything comes within the price. If you got a person that's got a solid feed program, a solid worming regimen, a solid vitamin regimen, all that kind of money that they're putting in their gamefowl, then you got Harry over there who's putting nothing in his fowl besides throwing them on outside and throwing feed on the ground. Well, you know what, dude? I'm not saying his is any less game than the other ones. But if I got to go buy some fowl, it has to come from a clean, not fancy. Don't get it confused. Not fancy. But it has to come from a clean operation. It don't have to be fancy. Why? Because I want healthy birds. I want healthy birds. That's the reason why. But let me tell you, and I'm going to use this cigar as an example. The reason why you should never base your buying decision based on somebody else's experience. Give you an example. This cigar, great flavor profile, started out with great seeds, nourished it, all of that stuff was done right on a farmer and the companies, and they did everything right. They sent out a solid product. The same thing in gamefowl. You got breeders that do everything right. You know, they hatch out good. They've been always provided clean water, clean feed, always kept them worm, delouse, all that kind of stuff. And then they sold the bird and shipped it to somewhere. Just like these cigar makers did with this cigar. But let me tell you what happened with this cigar. Even though the company did everything right, they did everything right. This cigar, not this particular one, but one just like this out the box, but not this particular one. But this cigar got great, flavor profile and all that kind of stuff, right? Well constructed, everything. Nice band, well constructed, nice cap on the top. Everything's even. It's not too hard. You know, it has a good draw on it, all that kind of stuff with this cigar, right? Same thing in gamefowl. You can get a breeder whose bird, he sent out the birds, he breed healthy birds, he raised healthy birds, and he shipped healthy birds, right? Then you get a customer that get the bird, just like I got this cigar. Now let me tell you, I got this cigar and I didn't take good care of this cigar. I didn't take good care of this cigar. Look, with this cigar now, this cigar is trash. I can't smoke this cigar. You know why? Because I didn't take care of it. And look what happened to the cigar after the farmer did everything right and the company did everything right. The roller did everything right. This cigar right now is trash. You know why? I didn't take care of it. Look, This cigar is busted. It's busted there. It's busted in two places. And it's busted here. It's busted here and it's busted there. That means if I try to go light it, the cigar is just going to fall apart. Now, why is this cigar falling apart? Why is this cigar falling apart? Because I didn't take care of it. Not that the farmer didn't do the right thing. The company didn't do anything wrong. They did everything right. But I, as the end user, didn't take care of this cigar. Now this cigar is trash. When I got it, it was perfectly fine. But now it's trash. The same thing in Gamefowl. You got guys who get good, healthy, strong fowl, don't take care of them, and when the fowl doesn't perform, they say it's the breeder. That would be just like me lighting this cigar, and when it started busting all open and cracking and falling apart, I blame it on a breeder, on a farmer. Oh, that cigar was trash, man. I lit it up and it fell all apart. Now, I'm not telling nobody that I didn't keep it at the right humidity level like I was supposed to. I'm not telling nobody that I didn't put it in a humidor like I was supposed to. The same thing happened with Gamefowl. They're not telling you that they didn't really give them clean water. They didn't really give them clean feed. They had them on dirt that hadn't been turned in decades. They're not telling you all that. They just say, hey, man, that breed right there ain't no good. You know, I bought a trio from them. I bought this from them and that from them and this from them. And that's some trash. No, that'd be just like me saying that about this cigar that I did not take care of. Now, if I light it and somebody next to me see me smoking it and see it falling all apart, they're going to say, hey, man, what kind of cigar is that? I tell them the name and they were like, oh, I don't want none of those. Man, I seen a guy sitting in a cigar lounge and he was smoking one of those things and it was falling all apart. Well, he didn't even get the whole story. He didn't even realize that I didn't take care of the cigar. That's the reason why it fell apart. The same thing in Gamefowl. You see somebody birds perform bad, you need to understand who's been taking care of them. Because in many cases, they wasn't taken care of like they were supposed to be taken care of, and that's the reason why they didn't perform the way they were supposed to perform. So that's the reason why you got to always be careful on making buying decisions or breeding decisions based upon somebody else's experience. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope, and please don't be shy. Post in the comments all you want if you got any additional questions. But I hope this story was very, very entertaining. I hope it was very entertaining. I hope that even if you don't agree with any of this stuff, that you will always remember when you look at a cigar, how it is so closely related to what we do in Gamefowl. It is so close related. Temperature control, humidity, soil, nourishment, bloodlines, every single thing a cigar maker has to be conscious of. The same thing in Gamefowl. So guys, I don't know if you're watching me on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I ask y'all guys, please, if y'all can, share the video. Just even for conversation purposes. Say, guys, listen, I want to tell your friend, I'm going to send you a video and you tell me if this makes sense what this guy is talking about. And get their feedback. That's what I would like. I would like to hear the feedback, not from the people just watching, but I would like to hear the feedback from other people. So share it. Share it. If you're on YouTube, you watch me from YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button because I'll be making more live videos. If y'all guys are on Instagram and this is the first time y'all watch me, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you also follow me on there. I'll be making more videos. If y'all guys got any suggestions of some videos y'all guys would like to hear, again, guys, I'm not the master breeder. You know, I don't have a building full of trophies. You know, I haven't won in all these big derbies from all over the world. So, hey, I'm not pretending that I have all the answers. I just bring a different perspective to the sport. I have a different point of view, but I hope y'all guys really, really enjoy. I hope y'all guys really enjoyed this video. And I hope y'all guys enjoyed this story. And even if you don't agree, I promise you, you will never forget this story. And you'll always understand, you can relate Gamefowl to cigars. Even if you don't agree, you ain't gonna forget this story. But like I say, share it with a friend. and just tell them, let me send you a video and tell me if what this guy's talking about, if it makes any sense or not. And then leave in the comments y'all guys' feedback. But other than that, have a good evening. I'll be talking to y'all guys soon. It was a pleasure hanging out with y'all tonight. I look forward to doing more live streams on Instagram and YouTube. So I'll see y'all guys in the future. And like I say, stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed, and I'll talk to y'all soon.